The time is 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the October 13th, 2020 regular city council meeting to order. The Opens Meeting Act is posted on the rear wall next to the agendas. Mayor's comments. I just want to make a comment. Councilman Bechtel. Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Please vote for the roll call. It's not recording any of those. Okay. Seven council members are present, Mayor.
Thank you. In Mayor's comments, Councilmember Bechtel, through work, was possibly exposed, so he is self-quarantining and tested today, and he should have results back. But it was through work, and it's out of caution that the work suggested that he stay home. So that's the direction that we headed. With that, we'll go to item number 1, executive session to discuss contract negotiation and potential threatened litigation.
Mr. Mayor, I object to the consideration of this question, especially at this point in the agenda. My reasons for objecting are these. This item was not included in the draft agenda originally published on the city's website. That agenda only had 7 items. This was not one of them. It had a motion to adopt the agenda, 2 consent items, 2 unfinished business items, and 2 new business items. The request for executive session should not have been added in the number 1 slot ahead of all the others that have been placed in a timely manner on the draft agenda. I understand the guiding principle of the city clerk has been that items are placed on the agenda in the sequence that they are received. More specifically than that is that Nebraska 84-1410 states that any public body may hold a closed session that is clearly necessary for the protection of the public interest. And it goes on to discuss pending litigation or something that is imminent as evidenced by communication of threat. To my knowledge, we haven't received any such formal request for litigation of anything that I'm aware of that would have brought this to our attention. So for those reasons, I believe that this item should not be considered at this time. If it's to be considered at all, it should be moved to the end of the agenda or wherever it would have normally have fallen in the sequence of events. But number 1 slot is not. And I would also ask the clerk if he could fix my computer because I'm not up anymore.
Mayor, just for the record, City Attorney Travis Jake, that I was the one that requested this item be put on the agenda. And I would advise the council to vote to go into executive session. If you object to going into executive session, vote not to go into executive session. That was my request to put it on the agenda.
Councilman Coons.
Move to go into executive session for the purpose of strategy session with respect to contract negotiation, potential threatened litigation, and for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest.
Councilman Legman. A motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session for the purpose of strategy session with respect to contract negotiation and potential threatened litigation, and for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest. Any discussion? Councilmember Jacobus.
Am I on?
Councilman Coons, you need to go off.
Am I okay now? Am I on?
Yeah.
My question is there any way to have an idea of what we're going to executive session about? This is so bland as far as it doesn't lead us to anything. And there has been no topic of discussion prior to tonight that we have anything potential. Nor some, I don't know if any of the other counselors have been notified about anything that was coming up. Was there any information that we can have beforehand?
We'll discuss it in executive session.
Okay.
Councilman Yerger?
I've referred back to the city council agenda policy, in which the agenda items are supposed to be placed on the agenda by Wednesday. And since council is apparently taking ownership of this item, and the items to be included by city legal would fall under that same guideline, I'm asking, when did you request that this item be put on the agenda?
Not that it's relevant, but this was requested the week of the last meeting.
And it didn't make the preliminary agenda, but it made a final agenda?
I'm not sure what the draft process of the agenda was.
I asked for the draft agenda. They're supposed to be published weekly according to the city council agenda policy. And when it wasn't published on Wednesday, I specifically asked for a copy and I received it. And it was just as I stated previously, this was not agenda item 1 on that policy or on that agenda when it came out. And placing it on the agenda as the number 1 item then is out of sequence and out of compliance with the city council agenda policy passed in resolution 2019-209.
And if you want to vote against going into executive session on that basis, you're free to do so, but there's not a problem with this item being considered.
Not a problem with it being considered. It's a problem being considered as item number 1 on the agenda.
Any other discussion? The pending motion to go into executive session for the purpose of a strategy session with respect to contract negotiation and potential threat and litigation for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest. Cast your vote.
Councilman Tracus.
I'll vote yes.
The motion carries 5-3.
A motion to go into executive session for the purpose of a strategy session with respect to contract negotiation and potential threat and litigation, and for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest, has been approved. Discussion will be limited to a strategy session with respect to contract negotiation and potential threat and litigation. No official actions or votes will be taken during this executive session. The council will move to the conference room. Time is 7:08.
That's my intention.
Time is 7:34. I would take a motion to come out of executive session. Councilman Jensen,
I'll make the motion to come out of executive session.
Councilman Lakeman,
And I'll second that.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Next item is item 2, motion to adopt current agenda for the October 13, 2020 regular meeting. Councilman Jensen,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move items number 22, 23, and 24 to after the consent agenda. The other items are all DCHS related. And I just want to make sure that the people that are waiting for those items don't have to wait through that before they conclude their business.
Councilman Coons,
I'll second that motion.
any other items before we move? Councilman Lakeman,
Yeah, per advice by attorney, I would like to make a motion to table it.
And per advice of our attorney, I would like to make a motion to table indefinitely items 17, 18, 19, and 21.
Councilman Yerger,
Those are my motions, and I object to Councilman Langban attempting to take issue with my motions before we even get to them.
is there a second? Councilman Coons,
I'll second Councilman Lakeman's item.
cast your votes.
Councilmember Chico is even recording your vote.
I'll vote yes.
Motion carries. The motion carries 5-3.
Now you want to do something.
Point of order, please.
Go ahead. Councilmember Jacobus.
I'd like the public to at least exercise some respect, and when a vote is taken, please refrain from the derogatory comments and the language. Would be much appreciated, because all of us up here need to adhere to that as well. So let's move forward.
Councilman Yeager.
Want to object once again strenuously with regards to the items that were removed from the agenda and continued, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Those were all my motions. None of those got an opportunity to be discussed at tonight's meeting. We didn't deal with them individually. They were moved off. I want to object to the removal of the items 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 that were just removed from the agenda at the time of establishing the agenda. Those were my items. I had no opportunity to raise discussion on those items or to handle them on my own. They were my items and not Councilman Lakeman's to continue in bulk as we did with regards to establishment of the agenda. If those were to be removed, they needed to be done by me. I was the author.
I believe motions to table is a privileged motion under the city code. There isn't a debate to table an item. There's not a problem with that.
And you don't believe that I have control of the motions that I put on the agenda, that anyone else can control my motions? Is that your Robert's Rule interpretation as well?
I think the council determines whether they want to table an item, and that's not happening.
Because somebody else took charge of my motions. Just want to make clear for the record, You're saying someone else can take charge of my motions in order to take them off the agenda.
As they stated, the motion to table is a privileged motion under the code. And I'm not sure what, for the record, you're looking for. But
They weren't even called up for discussion, council, that's why I'm asking. Those items had not been approached. They could have been taken off the agenda one at a time. When we got there, they were taken off in bulk.
yeah, that's fine. Council.
Just for the record, thanks.
So actually, the motion, Councilman Jensen, your motion is actually mute at this point. So any other items to be moved from the council agenda? I would take a motion to adopt the current agenda for October 13th, 2020 regular meeting. Councilman Jensen,
I'll make the motion to adopt the current agenda.
as amended. As amended.
As amended. As amended.
Councilman Legman,
No, second that.
cast your votes.
Motion carries. Motion carries 5-2, Mayor.
Next item is the consent agenda. All items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Is there any items to be removed from the consent agenda, either by council or by the public at this time? Councilmember Jacobus?
Am I muted?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to have for discussion items 3, 8, 9, 10, and due to monetary considerations, 12 and 13.
Councilmember Ellis, I assume you're abstaining on 16.
I assume right.
Councilmember Jacobus. Councilmember Yerger.
I'd like discussion on item number 11.
Any other items to be removed from the consent agenda? Either by the public or by council? This time I would take a motion to
I'm up.
Councilmember Legman.
I would like to,
Brad, you're on.
I would like to have some discussion on 16.
16's already off, so.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 14 and 15. Councilmember Jacobus,
I'd make a motion to, am I on?
Yeah.
I'm still not hearing. Is somebody on? Mark, are you on? Thank you. I would make the motion to approve consent agenda items 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, and 15.
second. Councilmember Legman,
Second that. You're on.
Oh, horrible tonight. Sorry.
cast your votes.
Not intention.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Moving to item 3. Motion to approve September 30, 2020 through October 13, 2020 claims and authorize checks to be drawn on the proper accounts. Councilmember Jacobus.
I'd ask for this to be taken off for a few explanatory comments. People comment on our lack of adhering and supporting our local policemen and fire departments, which I don't believe is true. We did lose sight of taking care of their facility as far as the police station. However, comments are also being made about issues with drugs, et cetera. And they need to understand that on our budget tonight is approving a contribution just south of $44,500 for the police force, for the drug task force. And also on here, we have purchased with a prior resolution to purchase 3 police vehicles and outfit them. So we are supportive and are trying to help them build their fleet. And there's also other things that are on here, such as supporting the parks. We have Keno funds that we gave to the parks. I was asked twice before the last meeting, what do you do for our parks? Well, we have Keno funds now that we've expended and have now delivered to the Friends of Parks for $3,500. And that's on our agenda to approve tonight. The question I had, we were approving all of this on a consent agenda, and why I took one of the items off, number 8, was because the Johnson Road South construction on the numbers, and felt that went some issues because there's some clarity issues. Not a question for Jody per se, but because of that. We also have on here that we are proceeding forward. We did pay for and get plans and drawings for our joint law enforcement center. And I know there's a lot of social discord over some of the comments or some of the publications made, but that will be going to the public people. I did have a few minor questions that were answered earlier, so that's all I had. I just wanted people to understand we have several items that were supportive of our police in their request that we adopted prior by resolution.
Any other comments? Councilman Yerger?
My comment with regards to item 3 is claims data includes a payment to Lexa Construction for $287,611.85, which is not something that should be approved as a part of the claims until we get to item 8, because that's where that payment is actually being discussed. It seems to me we should be addressing approval of item 8's payment before we approve the claims to release the check.
Any other comments? I would take a motion in regards to item 3, motion to approve September 30, 2020 through October 13, 2020 claims. Authorized checks be drawn on the proper account. Councilmember Jacobus.
I'm not sure how to make the motion because I do not believe we should be approving Alexa before we have some discussion on that clarification for the contract revision, because we're essentially approving that contract revision before we have discussion of the contract revision. And for whatever reason, that was put into the body of the consent agenda under item number 8. So can I make a motion to approve with that exception, or can we relocate this consent agenda item after discussion of number 8? Legal?
I would say just continue with number 8.
So then my motion is that we continue approving item number 3, the financials, until after discussion of item number 8, which is just Lexa.
Is there a second? Councilman Jensen.
I'll make that second.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Keep breaking it. Kind of wondered.
So next item, you didn't pull 7 off, did you, Susan?
No.
Next item is not item 8.
Mhm.
Resolution 2020-202 to approve Luxa Construction, Inc. final acceptance of project of the Johnson Road South Pavement Improvements Project by authorizing the mayor to sign final pay application number 7 and change order number 2. This time on a staff report.
There we go. I got it. Dave Godickin, Director of Public Works. This item is for the conclusion of the Johnson Road South paving project. This was a paving project that was done this summer. The project goes from Morningside Road to Jack Sutton Drive. The original contract price on this project was $1.579,424.40. The final cost of the project was $1,690,457.60. That's an overall price difference or price increases of $111 and $33.20. You're also approving change order number 2 for $33,960.02 and making final authorization of final payment for $287,611.85.
Councilman Yerger.
Just a quick question, Dave. I didn't get to you between the UIB meeting and this meeting, so I have to ask you here. You mentioned this in your staff report, and you just mentioned it here, that there's a change order for the $33,960 that we're essentially approving in tandem with what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And so when I look through the material, where do I see a change order number 2 in here, but the first, well, it does say 33,000. So the amendment to change order number 2 that follows that, the big long one that totals up to 1,694,57.
Yes.
The individual items that attributed to the 33,000 don't show up on that change order grand total because that sheet's the same as the one that showed up earlier.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because there's 2 change orders on this project. The original change order was for roughly $70,000. And that doesn't necessarily show up on the report that you have here. That's just goes into quantities that are listed in there. And then the final change order 2, is basically just to balance out all quantities. Every time we finish out a project, since we do them as a unit costs pricing project, you balance out all the final total quantities when the project is done. We measure everything up, and then there's always a difference between what we originally estimated and then what the final product was.
So it's typical for us to see the attachment number 1, change order number 2, that totals to $1,690,000 to be the exact same document as the final order, because we're not showing the piece parts.
Yeah, that's just balancing out the numbers on that one. It cleans up the books.
Councilman Coons?
Yeah, so a couple questions on the 300 section 2.
Mike, you're muted. On Zoom, you're muted.
We do that.
The question is on the 300 sections that's included from this bid. And when we do get approval from the UP, is that going to be rebid?
Yes, we will have to bid that as a separate project.
So it may not be by Luxa, maybe by someone else.
It could be whoever the low bidder would be on that project, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Jacobus.
I was actually surprised that this was a contract revision buried in the consent agenda. And I would ask that moving forward, that when we have consideration of on a consent agenda, that it not include contract revisions, because it doesn't allow us to understand what some of the changes were. And you're always very thorough in your explanation, so I guess I pulled off multiple things of yours simply because you do give such a thorough explanation, so I do appreciate that you do so.
Appreciate that.
What specifically were these contract revisions that were so above and beyond?
The majority of this one was, when you go down Johnson Road, you'll see that we dug a detention cell down there. We had some difficulties, let's say, getting the storm sewer pipe into that ditch, what do they call it, the warm water ditch. I think it's the name for it, or the First Street ditch. So we ended up having to build a detention cell, which was not in the original plan. So we had to redesign some of the storm sewer to make that all work. And then on the upside of that, or the happy accident of that, is now we do have some detention down there as well, which we would not have had without that. Yes.
And this is taking water from where? It's storm detention, so it's just going to basically detain it for temporary until it soaks in or it's on its way.
It percolates away. Yes.
Correct.
It'll be everything that comes down Johnson Road from about just slightly south of the Morningside Road to the railroad tracks. So everything from the track south will go into that, and everything from Morningside, let's say north, will go into that south.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Comments from the public? I would take a motion in regards to resolution 2020-202 to approve Luxa Construction Inc. final acceptance of project of Johnson Road South Pavement Improvements Project by authorizing the mayor to sign final pay application number 7 and change order 2. Councilman Yerger.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2020-202.
Councilman Coons.
Second that motion.
Cast your votes.
I apologize, Councilmember Jarvis didn't record your vote. No, it's not. Councilmember Yerger also did not. Thank you very much.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Moving back to item 3, motion to approve September 30th, 2020 through October 13th, 2020 claims. Authorized checks be drawn on the proper accounts. Councilman Jensen.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Is there a second? Councilmember McLean.
I also second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Moving on to item 9, motion to approve Archbishop Bergen Junior Senior High School user agreement for football camps, practices, games at Johnson Park. Councilmember Jacobus.
I took this off only because I wanted very minimal discussion. I had no issue with them having this. I just want to make sure they cover all hard costs. Right now, we have one porta potty out there for trail users, et cetera, which I guess we'll just continue to do that regardless. But what about the dumpster? There's not a dumpster out there now. And my fear is when we start to put dumpsters out in other receptacles like that, it's going to become like some of the businesses suffer from, and some of the area park barrels, et cetera. Who's going to police that and is responsible for it? So my only ask is, besides the nominal fee of $250, that they cover any and all hard costs, and that we don't add any, and then also in some of the language on here. On page 82 of the agenda, which is page 3, under responsibility for maintenance and repairs, it says we're going to provide dumpster service. That's not something that we should have for the city as far as those are costs, in my opinion. I took no issue with numbers 2 through 9. And then again, they will pick up their own trash, of course, but they're going to put in a city-provided dumpster underneath user maintenance responsibilities, number 3. Again, that's a hard cost. I would think that they could handle that on their own. And that they would have to make sure that they maintain the field in between. I see on numbers 2 through 9, it's nothing that we're already doing. I mean, we're already doing those things, so there's no reason not to continue. So there's no additional hard costs to the city. My only concern is that we are going to have some hard costs, and I'd rather not deal with that. And if it becomes a source of dismay for neighboring properties or the school, whatever, that it be taken care of. I just don't have the responsibility of the city.
Okay, can I present my staff report? Is that good? Okay, just my full staff report, just so you have some background. You have your request by Archbishop Bergen to use or have a user agreement for the practice field north of the middle school. They've been there since the fall of 2017 when they were displaced, when the city added their original practice area, which is north of Hedom, as part of the city's lease agreement with them for Midland University track, so they would have a place for their throws. And so they willingly went out to Johnson because that was basically all that was available at the time. The city did move, the city and DU collectively moved a goalpost from that old practice area north of Hedom to the current location right now. Those goalposts originally came from Memorial Stadium, when they got new goalposts, and that was done by Bergen parents and Knights of Columbus at their own cost. And so then the city once again moved it out to Johnson. With having limited green space and then green space being a premium these days, we're saw the need for having something on paper, and that's when we came up with this user agreement where they would have it for the term of 5 years for $250 a year, and we just came up with that because they mainly use it August through playoffs, hopefully, which is middle of November, and then the city will maintain ownership of the area and also will manage it where Bergen will just be users. And so, for an example, in the off season we have adult soccer like we did this year. This weekend we're having an example. Fremont High Cross Country is having a cross country meet using the perimeter of the football area out there. And so they've been very receptive to let others use it when they're not using it during their season. Some additional information to go along with the goalposts that they originally got to the fields. Bergen paid for and installed the current shed that's out there for storage. The Bergen Booster Club also paid for regrading and grassing for the east field. And Bergen also purchased the temporary goalposts that are out there now on the far east field. And as well, they provide extra portable restrooms out there. There's 2 of them right now. They're orange and they're right up against the shed. The porta pot that's on the trail is for the trail use primarily, and that's out there year-round. Bergen also provides the city with insurance certificates out. So with that, Councilmember Jacobus, your questions as far as dumpsters, we provide dumpsters for the soccer fields, we provide dumpsters at all parks, the horse arenas. We spend a lot of money on garbage, so it's not just at this area. So you know, we're not doing anything different for Bergen than we're doing them for everybody else. And I don't remember.
Councilmember Jacobus.
Of course they did.
You're unmuted.
On here, number 9, it says that insurance must be provided. Is that been provided?
Yes, I just failed to put it in your backup.
That's not a problem. Good question. And as far as my getting out starting date, the mayor did call upon me to get started on. So my apologies. I didn't understand that you were going to give a report other than answer questions.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that, Kim.
No, I just get a routine of giving my staff report, and then I was just like,
All right. But once he called on me, I thought the
Okay,
answer
sorry.
to speak.
I apologize.
On here, also on page 82, it says baseball and softball.
That was a mistake. I just got to it. So that,
So it's just a bad cut and paste? So it's just a bad cut and paste?
they're responsible for all of their own setup and marketing and things like that,
Okay.
which is not easy when they use the spray can, aerosol spray can to do it. So,
I haven't had to do that for many soccer fields in my time. I understand,
Yeah,
especially
not
when it's windy.
so, and to add to my staff report, this was approved by the park board to bring to council for final consideration at the October meeting. I can't tell, but Principal Koenig is he on Zoom if you have any questions.
He's right behind you.
Oh, for crying out loud. So if you have any other questions, then Principal Koenig, have I left anything out? Okay.
Councilmember Yerger.
I just have one quick follow-up to the discussion that you just had then about the user maintenance responsibilities at the facility and the parenthetical, like Councilmember Jacobus mentioned about baseball, softball, and he said, oh, it's really just football. I guess my question is, are we changing baseball and softball out of the agreement to say football, or are we just getting rid of the parenthetical, or are they going to use it for all?
This user agreement is specifically for football.
Okay, so then we should take the baseball, football out of the parenthetical and substitute football?
I would recommend that, yes. That's my error.
Okay, and do we need to do that officially or council? This agreement, it's already been approved apparently.
You can amend the contract to say football. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend the contract at Kim's request, I guess, my request, Kim's affirmation that it should say football under user maintenance responsibilities.
Councilmember Lakeman.
I'll second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would take a motion to approve the amended Archbishop Bergen Junior Senior High School user agreement for football camps, practices, and games. Councilmember Jacobus.
I make a motion to approve the amended contract between the city of Fremont and Fremont's Archbishop Bergen Junior Senior School.
Councilmember Yerger.
And I'll second the motion to approve the field use agreement.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 10, Resolution 2020-196, approving outside fire contracts from October 2020 to October 2021. At this time, we'll have staff report.
Mayor and council, the outside fire contracts occur once a year. One thing of note on this item is the contracts, they're currently drafted to state October 8th to October 8th. Typically, this item's done in the second meeting of September, but unfortunately, I didn't meet that deadline this time around. And so the council may want to decide to change that date to the 13th, or they may wish to have it remain the same so that it reflects that they were covered over that period of time. I would be happy to answer it. The other issue is we anticipate there being 4 outside fire contracts. A couple of the entities have not participated in prior years, but I thought it was important to put it on there in case they change their mind and decide to participate this year. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Councilmember Jacobus.
My question had to do with the dates, because we do cover it for a full year, but it's just odd on those dates. But some of us seated here on the council have taken some heat that we've allowed outside entities to exist outside or within donut holes to get fire and police services. But this shows that those firms, recognizing that they need the fire service, are being cooperative and hopefully signing contracts. I don't see any increases in these. Is that something that was decided on by fire, Tyler? How are these amounts come to? I mean, how is it agreed to what the price is? I see where it says per parcel, but is that just literally, or if somebody has 40 acres underneath one parcel, it's the same cost as if you've got 5 acres underneath one parcel? I mean, how does that come out where these are set?
So, okay, I'll let her respond. Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Standard. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, go ahead, Jody.
Okay, so the formula for the fire contracts is based on the amount of property tax that is attributable to the fire department. How much, like I live inside the city limits, and so we go through a calculation to calculate how much of the overall city levy goes towards supporting the fire department, net of their ambulance and fire call income. Based on the budget. That's why it's usually done in that late September, early October timeframe. So it varies based on what our levy is. And then also again, it varies because of the valuation of the properties. So if their valuation went up, their fire contract likely went up as well. Any other questions?
Any questions for Jody? Any other comments? I would take a motion to approve Resolution 2020-196, approving outside fire contracts from October 2020 to October 2021. Councilmember Jensen?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-196.
Councilmember Jacobus?
I'll second his motion.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 11, move to approve the recommendation of the mayor to reappoint Marty Gifford as Fremont Housing Agency board member to a term ending September 2025. Marty Gifford served out a term approximately 1.5 years and then was reappointed. So this is actually the end of his first term. And I'm reappointing him for a second term. He basically has done a good job in regards to this organization and moving forward in regards to input, in regards to construction and their growth. So I'll take questions. Councilmember Jacobus.
My concern in taking this off, we've got a gentleman who serves well on the planning commission and he brings a lot of expertise to that. But he also serves on the housing agency and building advisory. And both of them are somewhat lengthy terms. He's got on the building covenant advisory, he was reappointed in 2016. And it's 4 years, so he's been on there for a number of years. He's on the planning commission and on the housing agency. We have other people that are due to expire. Mr. Vern Gibson is due to expire, actually has expired during September. Marty Gifford has expired in the month of September. And also Brandon Braithwaite. I'd be comfortable on doing two things. Letting these members ride until the end of December to allow, which we are going to have a new council and we're going to have a new mayor. And perhaps that should be left up to the new council and the mayor to decide and allow these terms to ride it out up to and including the last meeting in December and to let it go at this moment. So that would be my motion to continue this until the 1st of January.
Is there a second? Go ahead.
I'm not sure whether this would be appropriate or not, but if that board wants to meet, the fact that the members are no longer on that board could cause a problem for them. Would we want them to appoint these two people for a time to end December and then make it up from there? In terms of expired, so I'm not sure if they would have a quorum if they intend to meet.
It would only be the House Authority. The other board had, I don't think Marty's met that board since 2016. To be honest, that board
My
doesn't meet. But her motion was to take it through
December.
I have no problem with it through December.
That's what I'd like to see done for all of them that are due to expire from.
The only issue is if they have any issues, if they have any items, if her motion was to leave them on and they would continue for the remainder of 2 months, and then the new mayor and the new council can make the decision at that time. Councilmember Yurko?
So there's a motion on the table. I'm ready to second, but I want to make sure that I do understand that the motion on the floor is not only for Mr. Gifford's position, it's also for the expired position of Mr. Gibson and Mr. Braithwaite.
Yes.
All three of those that are expired in September, we're extending all of those to.
I wonder if we can do that because it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, that would be an Open Meetings Act violation. This is just for number 11 there, to appoint Marty Gifford.
Okay, so this is, so we're limiting the motion
Specific to Gifford.
and I guess does Councilmember Jacobus need to restate? I thought I heard her say
Yeah,
everyone.
Gifford, just want to restate that.
I thought, is there anybody else? I thought that due to, we were talking about the housing agency and reappointment, that we could do a motion, amend what our intent was, and to not address this until allow expired terms to ride out to the end of December. But you're saying I can only focus on Mr. Gifford?
Yes, and
Okay.
you can continue this, or you could move to deny the nomination on the basis that you kind of want the item continued. We're only focusing on Mr. Gifford.
I'm sorry, would you restate what you just said? You used a word I just wasn't too familiar with.
So you wanted to delay action on this appointment?
As a decisive action on appointments. I think it would behoove us as we get these, we didn't address two of these positions, and I can understand what our mayor has stated. We have expired terms here. So my motion is to continue Mr. Gifford's position through the end of December. And I would also, that's my motion. I guess I can always add an agenda item at the next meeting. That's my motion. I amended. Thank you.
Brad, you okay with that?
Well, my preference would be that we just continue this one till the next meeting and get all three at the same time. I think it's cleaner if we pick up the other two as well, but I'm happy if we just move Mr. Giffords at this time. The others are expired, so I don't know if that gives them a quorum problem, as you indicated, Tyler, that because we're not addressing those. I guess we can address those at the next meeting. So if that's the case, I'll second the motion to extend Mr. Gifford's tenure till December.
Actually, January, right?
January, whatever. End of December.
Last meeting in December, right?
Last meeting.
Okay,
That's probably gonna be Christmas when we're gonna do.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 12, Resolution 2020-197, authorizing a 5-year software and support agreement with Honeywell for Londi Wright Power Units number 6, number 7, and number 8. We'll have staff report. Jeff?
Mayor, City Council, Jeff Shanahan, Plant Manager, Londi Wright Plant. This is for the software agreement for the DCS control system at the Londi Wright Plant. This provides us with software upgrades, antivirus protection, hack support, which is technical support, 24/7, plus 40 hours of on-site inspection and service.
Any questions for Jeff? Councilmember Jacobus? Yes.
6 months of this one's still not getting angry. Jeff, the only reason why I had this pulled off is because it said that it was budgeted for $86,000 in 2021. It didn't mention about 21, 22 for budgeted items. And it also, as far as the impact, it says fiscal impact is $86,000, but that is for just 1 year. The actual fiscal impact exceeds $458,000. I don't have a clue what this is all about. You do, and I trust that we need this, but it's just, I took a little issue that it said the fiscal impact was $86,000 when the reality is $458,000 plus, and it was buried in the consent agenda through no fault of your own, but I'm just saying that's where my issue lies, not what's approving it. When you said 40 hours of technical support, does that mean if we need more support for whatever reason that we're going to have to pay additional monies? Because right now it shows that this item was budgeted, but it doesn't mention any additional budgeted. I mean, as far as, was it budgeted for 2021 to 22?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and it didn't mention that. So I'm not trying to be joke over it, just what does this entail when you say that we have 40 hours of service agreement with them and that they're going to have us out for 40 hours for on-site service and inspections? That's all they anticipate?
Well, no, that's what we just allocated 40 hours. Like this year, we used them to come out and help us set up the servers for the cybersecurity that IT wanted to put in to protect the system. They wanted Honeywell on site while they set up their system. And so we took that out of our service contract dollars to pay for them to come out here to do that job. And, you know, there's many times where we'll need some additional support that we can't supply or that IT can't supply or something like that. And we don't want to budget for 120 hours and not use it because we pay for it whether you use it or not. So we allocate 1 week of service, and if we have to go over that, we have to just pay for it.
Does this tech support also include remote online they can troubleshoot from afar without showing up on site?
It depends. The TAC, we can call in, but no, they don't have access to our system. We have support with other companies that do similar activities that we use online support or that we use VPN
Mhm.
and that to get in, but we don't typically do that with Honeywell very often.
And then as far as on future budgets, this is just something we have to make sure that we add into our future budgets, because right now we just have a 2-year budget.
Correct. That's why it's only about 1 year for the fiscal impact. The rest of the years will be in future budgets.
Technically, year 2 is actually budgeted for, correct? 2021 is occurring right now. And then the next year, which
This
was
is the
already,
last year of a 2-year budget.
this is the first year of 2-year budget, so,
Second year.
oh, I'm a doorknob, I admit it.
This is the last year. Of the
So these are budget items that we have to have added in there, so the fiscal impact around is in excess of 485
We will
for
budget,
future budgets.
right, when we do the next budget cycle, we'll include the next 2 years, and then the next budget cycle will include the next 2 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? I would take a motion to approve, or motion in regards to resolution 2020-197, authorizing a 5-year software and support agreement with Honeywell for Lonnie Wright Power Units 6, 7, and 8. Councilmember Jacobus,
I make a motion to approve resolution 2020-197 for the 5-year contract.
Councilman Coons,
I'll second that motion.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 13, resolution 2020-198, authorizing a 3-year quicklime reagent supply agreement for Lonnie Wright Power Unit number 8. Jeff?
Mayor, City Council, Jeff Shanahan, Plant Manager, Lonnie Wright Plant. This is for the lime agreement for Unit 8. Lime's required as part of our operating commitment, as part of our operations plant when we put the scrubbers in. We went out for this. We have a 1-year agreement, and a 3-year agreement. Pete and Sons were the low bidder and provided a quality product, so we're recommending them.
Any questions for Jeff? Councilmember Jacobus.
Trying to get back. Cumulatively, what is the total impact on this agreement?
Well, it depends on how much we use. We're just estimating that we use approximately $200,000 worth.
Just roughly 200. I think this came up over the past couple of years as well, and it's roughly stayed in that ballpark, hasn't it?
Yep.
So it's just roughly 200,000 a year, and it's a 3-year agreement.
Yeah, like I said, it basically we price it out per ton, and if our loads are higher, then we use more lime. If our loads are lower, we use less. This is just an estimate of where we think we're going to be based on.
And this will be a 3-year agreement that will lock in, and this will be roughly a $600,000, but it's nothing remarkable from years we've done prior.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? I would take a motion in regards to resolution 2020-198, authorizing a 3-year quicklime reagent supply agreement for Lonnie Wright Power Unit number 8. Councilmember Jacobus.
I make the motion to approve resolution 2020-198.
Councilmember Jensen.
I will second that motion.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 16. Councilmember Ellis item, resolution 2020-203, approving the request of Fremont Downtown Development Group to close the city parking lot and street for Fremont Trunk and Treat. Councilmember Ellis will be abstaining. However, do you want to just give a quick overview, please?
Many of you guys are aware of the Halloween hysteria was postponed this year until next year. It's a great event for kids, but because of the COVID issue, I think we all realize that Halloween hysteria is truly hysteria downtown. There's over 2,000 kids in the downtown area, and it's pure madness. So what we've done was come up with a way to help organize and still give the kids an opportunity to dress up and to come downtown. So what we're proposing is a trunk or treat, which will be using the parking lot and 5th Street. If you look at the map, you'll see that we're going to be organized extremely tight so that cars will be actually spaced every other parking spot. So the cars will be spaced separately. And then the children, the path will be controlled extremely well so that there will not be any hysteria involved at all. It will simply be lines that are formed. We purchased markers that we'll put on the cement so that when the children are lining up, they will line up 6 feet apart with their families. And so I think we've taken a lot of precautions. Even one of the events we're talking about is creating a creative way of distributing candy without touching children. So there's ways that we're trying to figure out mechanical reasons or whatever. It's just to try to make it fun for not only the trunker, but also for the treater. And so I think this is a good compromise. We've talked with other organizations that are doing this. And I think by putting in this measure of organization, I think it's a good way to still bring families and parents downtown, but do it in a much well-organized manner than we have in the past with the Halloween hysteria. So, any questions?
Councilman Lake.
Yes, am I on?
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. You've answered a lot of my questions because that was my concern about it. It was hysteria, and I was wondering if you're ready for 2,500 people. And as a COVID survivor, and as sick as I was, I'm a survivor, and almost having lost my wife to COVID, and I'm very concerned about people getting together. And right now, the positivity rate in Nebraska is going up sharply. It's over 10% right now. And I just have concerns about their safety, the parents and kids' safety right now and doing anything because of COVID. If you would have said this 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were steady at 8%, sometimes below it, I wouldn't have had any concerns, or at least not as many. But with the positivity rate going up over 10%, I am still very concerned. You've answered a lot of my questions, and I hope it does work out as well as said, but I'm still very concerned about the safety of parents and kids.
Councilman Ellis?
We did the traditional Halloween hysteria is an hour and a half long from 5:30 to 7, so it's pretty tight, pretty packed. And so what we've done is moved it from a Thursday night after work into a Saturday afternoon. We're stretching it out for 3 hours, so hopefully the flow will be less than traditional. And so I do believe we put in a lot of thought and compassion towards doing this. And like I said, all of our truckers will be wearing masks and distributing candy, hopefully in a very fun manner. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Coons?
Yeah, I kind of echo same feelings that Mark has. We've been dealing with this issue for quite some time, but I'm to the point where I know a lot of people in the public are getting frustrated with it. But the reality of it is, I think we all know the risk that we take. So with that being said, if a group of people think that Glenn can do it safely, then I'd like to give him that opportunity to pull that off.
Any other comments? I would take a motion in regards to the resolution 2020-203 with Councilman Ellis abstaining. Is there any public comment? Thank you. Wanted to look. I forget to look up here at attendees, so thank you. Councilman Jensen.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2020-203.
Councilman Yerger.
I'll second that motion.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 5-1 with one abstention, Mayor.
Moving on to new business. Item 22. Resolution 2020-201 to approve a contract with Housel Levine to provide services to update the Unified Development Code, UDC, Comprehensive Plan, and associated long-range transportation plan. This time we'll have staff report. Jennifer, see your hands up. Just need to unmute and you're ready to go.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Jennifer Dam, Planning Director. I am excited to be bringing this contract to you this evening. About a year ago, we put funding to update the comprehensive plan, the long-range transportation plan, and the UDC in the budget. I was finally able to get the RFP together for those projects. They were posted on the National American Planning Association website, the State Planning Association website. I sent copies of the RFPs to all of the Nebraska planning firms that I was aware of. And as a result of that, we received 5 responses for the update of the UDC, 4 responses for the update of the comprehensive plan, long-range transportation plan. We had a team that we put together to review the responses. The team included the mayor, Councilman Coons and Jensen, 2 planning commissioners, and the primary city department heads that will be working with this team to update these plans. We interviewed the top 3 teams, respondents on September 17th and 22nd, and the group felt that Housel Levine was the most qualified and had the most complete response. And so I checked references, and then we initiated the contract and scope of work process. I have to say their references were impeccable. I not only checked the references that they listed, but I also found, well, for example, in Council Bluffs, the individual who was community development director and the project manager when the comp plan was updated there by Housel Levine are no longer with Council Bluffs. So I tracked them down and talked with them. The same with the planning director in Fort Dodge. He's in a different position there now. And everybody just said tremendous things about Housel Levine, and I think we should be very happy with them. We do have representatives on the phone with us or on the Zoom with us tonight. So now I know Nick Davis is on the call, and I think part of his team is as well. So I guess before any questions, I would like that they have an opportunity to present themselves to you. Thank you.
So I don't know if you can hear me, so I'll look for some head nods. But my name is Nick Davis. I'm a principal at Housel Levine. I was a part of the team that also interviewed. We have a few people on the line from our team for this project. I have John Housel from Housel Levine, Jackie Wells from Housel Levine, and Sean Tapia from Housel Levine. And then also with us is Jason Caribi from HDR. And collectively, the group that's on the line tonight will be working on the 3 different projects that will be working on the comprehensive plan, the long range transportation plan, and the UDC. So I want to thank everybody, the council, for giving us an opportunity to at least see everybody via camera. I know you can't see us, but we appreciate the opportunity. Any questions that you may have, we're here tonight to answer any of those questions. Thanks.
Jackie, you're welcome to speak as well.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm very excited to be here in front of you all today to answer any questions that you might have about the UDC process or the comprehensive planning process.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Councilmember Jacobus.
I did have a question as far as the project scheduling. I noted on here prior to step 2 in community engagements that rather than follow up on comprehensive plan with developing a cohesive UDC, that would be basically formally more in tune or formalized for Fremont individually. It shows that we're going to expedite potential zoning code amendments, and that was something that we were trying to avoid. So I was surprised to see that on the project schedule underneath this project initiation. Also on there on the project initiation on step 1, that slates during the month of November that there is going to be elected and appointed officials roundtable workshop. Again, this may be kind of a little bit too preliminary because we will have a change in governance in December. After these elections, and the first meeting in December will be a change of governance. Will be here, there, there'll be council members, and they need to be involved with this process along the way and educated. So I'm not taking issue with awarding a contract as much as I'd rather see the schedule be pushed off 3 months so that the newly seated council and the new mayor have an opportunity to become involved and be a part of this from what's on the ground moving forward, rather than initiating any preliminary steps that there'd have to be some catching up. So I think their involvement is going to be prudent to move it forward.
I could answer those questions or concerns. First, the kickoff in November is to get some background information that they can start collecting and get on board and get moving forward over the next couple of months. We were anticipating a kickoff meeting on November 10th. We will know who the next elected officials will be at that time, and certainly provides us with an opportunity to include everybody in that particular process. Additionally, the UDC quick fixes or band-aids, there are several areas in the UDC that regularly come up as issues that are items that are not necessarily related to an implementation of a comprehensive plan. Those are items that we'll want to make sure that we identify, and then the roundtable can determine if that's something that needs to be moved forward on quite quickly, or if it's something that should be waited on, so that we're not continually doing little Band-Aid fixes until over the next 18 months. It's to identify those key issues up front. For example, something that regularly comes up is a duplex has an impervious coverage area, total impervious coverage area of 50%. A townhouse has total coverage of 60%. Should those be different or should those be the same? We've had a lot of questions that have come up on fences and on landscaping and on signage. I think a number of those issues are issues that can be tackled early on in the process that not a part of implementing a bigger picture comprehensive plan. That's what the intent behind that is.
Any other comments? Councilman Yerger.
Well, I shared some of Councilmember Jacobus's concerns that were expressed. I have a couple other questions as well. So as I read through the documentation, there are references in here to the team and the steering committee. Are they one and the same?
So, and Jennifer, do you mind if we respond or would you prefer?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so when we say team, project team, that would mean both House Levine staff and HDR staff, not city staff or anybody on council. So those are separate. So when we say team or project team, we're referring to the project team that is House Levine and HDR. Then the advisory committee, that steering committee, would be a different group that would need to be established.
So it's not established. That's not the group that's been working on this up to now. That's going to be some other group. We had a group identified. It included the mayor, some council members, members of the planning director, et cetera. I don't remember. Those are not the steering committee. That's something else to be yet developed.
Those are not.
And I'll let Jennifer finish, but my understanding would be that this first phase is just to get the team here, go over. They want to spend some time in our community, get a good overview of what information they can continue to gather as we prepare, as Jennifer and the new mayor and prepares that team to come together. This is a big project. This is one of the things that, I think that as we have a governance change, that if there was anything you could ever have a retreat about, this would be one, to go ahead and put it together and put the team, or not teams, wrong word, put together the group that will work closely with them through this process. Whoever is on that group has to understand this is all of 18 months plus and a lot of meetings to get through the process based on my experience in 2010.
But that was part of the reason for my asking some questions that I have with regards to the differentiation between the team, documents that say the steering committee, the people who will be working on this with whoever we hire ultimately here to do the project. And my underlying concern in that regard had to do with whether or not in the formative discussions that have been had so far, when the RFP was released, et cetera, was there discussion about what types of rebuilding needs to go on in the city, repairs to the UDC because of difficulties we've been experiencing, et cetera, or no, that's all downstream work. We didn't discuss any of those in this pre-planning group that made the selections and put out the RFPs. We didn't include any of that insight in the RFP. I guess that's my question, or it was included. And so maybe Jennifer, you can answer that. And then I have a couple more questions.
Okay, so oh, that's really feedback. In developing the RFPs, particularly the RFP for the UDC, it was noted in there that the UDC has issues currently, and there were several specific areas that I identified in the UDC that we wanted to take a look at and to have a document developed that is user-friendly and reflects the goals and the desires of the city of Fremont. Those goals and desires, if you will be more specifically identified throughout the course of this project. So I put together the RFPs. They were issued. That's a typical process. The group that got together that reviewed the responses to those RFPs and did the interviews included representatives from the city council and the mayor, the planning commission, and then, like I said, department heads. The purpose of that group was to identify from those responses who we wanted to interview. And then once we did the interviews, who we felt was the best qualified either for one project, and ultimately we decided this on the same firm for both projects. And now you have the contract in front of you. All of the heavy lifting hasn't even started yet. One of the really great things about this particular team is the public participation element. There are opportunities for online participation. They have a product called Map Social, where people will be able to identify areas of the community that they love, areas of the community where they think needs some more work. They have a bunch of DIY kits. So we'll kind of have a train the trainer program where community groups can take a kit to, their Kiwanis Club meeting or their book club meeting or whatever group it might be, and look at the information and provide us with feedback. And that will, of course, also have, the more traditional, COVID allowing, the more traditional meetings as well. So there will be a lot of opportunity for public participation. There'll be plenty of opportunity for input for the new elected officials, for all of our appointed officials, and the community at large.
Well, you're getting to one of the concerns that I had, and the mayor touched on it as well. And that has to do with some of what I read in the attachment A drafts, for example, council elected official meetings or study sessions weren't listed as things that were going to occur that I saw relative to the final step, which is we're going to give this stuff to the city council at the end. And I guess obviously from my perspective, that's not workable. And especially since it seems to me that we have very divergent needs across the city with regards to the UDC modifications that are necessary to be looked at and addressed by whoever does the work here. And I'm going to use Ward 3 as an example of it doesn't currently work very well, the UDC that we have today, because if they had catastrophic damage from flood, tornado, or whatever, they got rebuilding problems because the UDC is not going to be very user-friendly for them to do anything. On the flip side of that, the growth for new starts is in Eastern Fremont. So that's in Ward 1 and Ward 4. Ward 4 is my ward. And so when it comes to specific development of transportation needs, et cetera, I will want to have some significant input on behalf of my constituents about the transportation needs in what we're already building and proceed to build in the future relative to the comp plans. And certainly doing that at the end of the process wasn't going to be workable for me personally. And so I was kind of surprised not to see more specificity in the scheduling, specifically, as the mayor mentioned. I guess the study sessions for everybody to provide input, I think, is going to be critical. But certainly if you end up with steering committees or whatever, they need to be broad-based enough that they cover more than a single ward. They need to cover, I guess we don't have to have public meetings if we don't have more than 4. So we could have a representative out of every ward by council to make sure that our constituents are being represented not only in the public meetings, but in anything else that we have. So I'd ask that would be a consideration here, because otherwise we might end up in a situation where we don't have what we want. The other thing that I didn't see.
Brad, you need to wrap up. Your 5 minutes is up.
One last question. Last time UDC was developed, it went through an extensive review by a subcommittee that was appointed specifically to test the theory of the UDC. We still ended up with myriad of problems because it wasn't probably tested as thoroughly as it should have been. And I don't see that step in here at all unless I missed it. So those were my comments.
Mayor's muted. Mayor, you're muted. Mayor, you're muted.
If there's no further comment, I'd just like to approve resolution, make the motion to approve resolution 2020-201.
Councilmember Jacobus.
I do have a few comments, and I was thinking along the same lines of what Mr. Huber was going. It's one to have a group which has done quite a bit within the city to have some individuals, regardless of different strengths, come into the table to make decisions for contracts, bring to council. That's appreciated, so I appreciate his time on that. But moving forward, I would like to see study sessions. That's something that has not been adhered to in times past, but on this is going to be very, very important, particularly to have representation every step of the way from each of the wards. As long as we all understand the growth is east and the transportation issues are to the east. We've got a bypass coming in, wrapping around into third ward, but Ward 1 and Ward 4 have to have representation at the table. And as far as our ward, Ward 3, our growth area is very limited, but it's the Washington Heights area. And we need to have representation at the table as we go through the codes, because we have old sections of town that some of us live in and choose to stay there. There are new sections of town that other individuals choose. There's just so many myriad of issues that are very specific to different zones and wards of our city. So I guess my ask is that this project schedule have built into it study sessions, some minimal meetings at that to get some input as things progress, with even if it's just one person from a ward. Each of the wards belongs to represented, and there's some input there, because they truly are here, we all are, to represent our wards and our constituents. So I'd appreciate that we'd have that brought to the table.
And I'm not saying it'll be the same as it was for me, but we had public comment, public meetings, several up at the hospital through this process. And every single chapter was covered in detail with study sessions. It actually got to the point where council was complaining because we were meeting in between. So I'm just saying, this is a daunting task, and everybody hold on, because I will tell you, when we interviewed House of Levine, one of the reasons why we did pick them and choose them was the fact that they wanted to be involved with our community. They wanted to be involved with the council. They wanted to ensure that we were satisfied. The UDC follows hand in hand with the comprehensive plan. You can't, the challenge we had, we approved the comprehensive plan, and then 2 years later, we began to look at the UDC. And in this process, the UDC will be working hand in hand with the comprehensive plan, and should be approved at the same time, almost to be when the UDC is approved, or when the comprehensive plan is approved, as it goes through Planning Commission first, then to council for approval. The UDC will be following very closely to ensure that whatever design and whatever roadmap that was prepared by this body, the new mayor, the new council, fits cohesively. And it's going to take the involvement of all of you, and there'll be more meetings than, based on their programming, it may not be spelled out exactly that way, but there'll be more meetings than you probably want to have. Any other comments, Councilman Yeager?
One other question that I forgot to ask earlier. So latest census data, when does that become available and usable in this project? Because we have had a significant change in what Fremont is comprised of currently, with the additional businesses that have come in, all this new housing growth and the like. And so when is that census data going to be available, and isn't it prerequisite to be used in the comprehensive plan update? And what's the timing then of that and the start date?
The initial census data will be released in early January. That'll give you the population counts, and that's what's used for redistricting. And then more detailed information is released over the course of the next couple of years.
Could you repeat? I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Yes, the initial counts are released in January for the purposes of redistricting. So that'll give us our initial population and demographic information.
And what,
Jennifer, your
what's that
volume
data
is-
based on? I mean, what's the data point that release is based on?
I didn't understand.
Just trying to establish the data point that it's released in January, but how much, what data year does that bring us up to and encompass relative to what we've experienced in the last year?
That will be the 2020 census initial counts of the population.
2020.
John Housel.
Yeah, so can everybody hear me on council?
Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to, that's very echoey. I just wanted to second and emphasize what Councilman Yerger said, and that is the importance of having broad representation across the spectrum of the city. So whether the advisory committee is made up of representatives of a couple of elected officials, a couple of plan commission members, representation in some way, shape, or form from every ward, business owner representation, resident at large representation. We want the steering committee, the advisory committee, to be a broad representative cross-section of the entire community. It is the best way for us to ensure that every perspective is considered, that every type of stakeholder position within the community is considered. Business owners have perspectives that residents do not. Plan commission members might have perspectives that a local not-for-profit would have. So having broad spectrum representation is crucial, including geographically every ward of the city in some way, shape, or form. This process is built to be 100% transparent, to consider and discuss and vet every idea or voice that merits consideration and discussed in a public setting. And so I just want to emphasize that the intent of this process is to effectively engage as many people as we can on different levels without having what we would call outreach burnout. And that is meetings for the sake of meetings or meetings that might not be productive, but providing the right mix of meetings and stakeholder engagement that truly represents all the different perspectives in the city. So Councilman Yerger, I agree 100%. We need to make sure that in some way, shape, or form at the advisory committee level, representative from the different voices and the different wards are all there at the table.
Any other comments? Either from the public or council? Councilmember Jacobus?
I'm sorry, I was going to second Jensen's motion.
I would take a motion in regards to resolution 2020-201 to approve contract with Household Levine to provide services to update the Unified Development Code, comprehensive plan, and associated long-range transportation plan. Councilmember Jacobus.
I will make that motion.
Councilmember Langman.
I will second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 23. Motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Tetrad Property Group for the project management fees for the library expansion project through completion. This time we'll have staff report.
Good evening, council.
Council and Mayor. I'm Laura England Biggs, Acting Director for Keene Memorial Library. As many of you are aware, we have been pursuing a renovation expansion project for some time. We are asking to hire an owner's rep who will assist us in running that project. Their job is to keep the construction project within budget and help guide decisions. On June 2nd, library leaders met with city representatives and our fundraising council to discuss the possibility of hiring the owner's rep, and the advice at that meeting was go forward. So we did. In August, on the 27th, we held interviews with 4 pre-selected companies. And following those interviews, we had used a rating scale. Each of the 6 members of that committee, Tina Walker, myself, Dave Godekin, Larry Yersock, Denise Kai, and Gary Clark, we all filled out the score sheets. They were tabulated and averaged. And after that, the decision was made to hire Tetrad Property Group. Cassie Pabin and Alex Henry are here tonight if you have specific questions for them. On September 27th, library leaders and Tetrad leaders met with Brian Newton, and we discussed changing some of the proposed terms in the contract. What we've come up with is what's in front of you. There's a phase 1 pre-development services, which will be paid at the rate of $42,000. And then phase 2, which is pre-construction, construction, and post-construction services, will be assessed at a 2% of the final budget. We have been looking at setting that final budget at $9 million or less. It depends on where the designs come in. That's pretty much my report. Any questions?
Any questions for Laura? Any questions for Laura? Councilmember Jacobus.
Laura, could you explain what an owner's rep is and what it all entails?
I could probably do it. I could probably let Cassie do it if that would be better.
That would be fine.
Can you all see me here? Sorry, Cassie Pabin, Tetra Property Group, 10340 North 84th Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Happy to be here, answer any questions you might have. But in terms of an owner's rep, we view ourselves as we do real estate development construction projects every day, which allows your city staff to really focus on what their day jobs are, which is, in this case, run a library system. We're the experts in construction. Laura might be fabulous in running a library. Personally, I have no idea. I read, but I don't know. So, vice versa. So we're running that for her. We provide advice to city and city staff on appropriate contracts, decisions that should be made as we're working through architect selection and materials, value engineering, making sure that we're making all the budget considerations on time, under budget, the most fiduciary at the end of the day for the taxpayers for the city of Fremont. That's really what we look out to do. I would say at the firm, we've never had a job that has gone over budget. We pride ourselves on that. We stick to that. I think the closest we come might have been the last one, Alex Brand, who's probably gonna kick me later for it, but we literally, when we have a budget, that's what it is. And that's what we look out for. We do a lot of work with municipalities and other governmental agencies, so we're very cognizant of that. So at the end of the day, we act as essentially a fiduciary agent on your behalf, making those decisions, giving recommendations, guiding you down that path.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Councilman Yerger? Susan, can you click off?
Just one quick one, I guess, as we move forward. This group that was selected went through and did a selection process that's listed in your staff report. On a going forward basis, is this the group that does the primary interface with the owner's representative as they work through the issues, or is this changed to being interfaced with other And these players are not necessarily the players that interface with the owner's representative going forward.
Tetrad will be the owner's representative.
Yeah, but from a city perspective that they're communicating with, is it going to be this group that did the selection process? In
It would be primarily the library director.
Goes back to the library
Right.
director and the library board.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Comments from the public? Comments from council? I would take a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Tetrad Property Group for the project management fees for the library expansion project through completion. Councilman Jensen?
I will make that motion.
Councilman Legman?
And I will second that motion.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 24, Resolution 2020-200 to approve the reimbursement and indemnification agreement for gas main relocation with Wholesome USA. Wholesome US.
I don't know if it's Wholesome or Holcomb. I was going to say Holcomb. Well, let's go with Wholesome since you started it. First Haven, Assistant City Administrator, Utilities. Wholesome US approached us a while back. They own some property east and south of Sapp Brothers, kind of between 32nd Street and like the old Fever Railway. They are looking at getting a railroad spur to their property, and that spur would cross an existing gas main owned by the city. In order to get that rail across, we would have to lower that gas main. So they asked us to get an estimate for how much it would cost. We went out for bids for lowering that main. There's not a lot of companies that do that. We only got one bid back. It's Black Hills Energy. Their cost for relocating that main, lowering it was $611,201.88. We took that number to them. That's a number they thought they could live with. That money is going to be paid by them, which requires an indemnification agreement, which we're bringing to you tonight. The contract is between us and Black Hills because we thought if there was an issue during construction, we wanted the city to have control of what would happen to that gas main, where we're making a decision based on safety and what's best for the utility, as opposed to probably what most people would do is how's the cheapest way to fix it and get it back in the ground. So we will have say on how that construction continues. There's a provision in there. If something were to happen and the costs were overrun and Wholesome decided they didn't want to continue, there's a provision in there that they can just stop and pay us for the work that we've done up to that point. I can try.
Any questions for Troy? Councilman Jensen?
Just a quick one. I was looking through here. We said indemnification agreement. Is there a time frame on that? I mean, is it like immediate, like we pay when they pay us immediately, if it's like a 5 or 10 year loan or anything?
No, it's typically probably within 60 days. It probably will be two estimates. Construction on something like that would probably take 2 or 3 months. So you're looking at, if we were to ask for billing, it's monthly, you're probably looking at 2 or 3 months after construction. So it might be 3 months worth of bills, 3 months worth of payments, 30 days between when we would pay it and they would reimburse us.
Just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Councilman Yerger?
So I'm looking at Exhibit A. So my questions are from that perspective. It says in the assumptions that the customer, I assume that's the city, or contracting, so we're the customer, is that correct? And we're going to be responsible for any dewatering costs beyond $70,000. is it your expectation that $70,000 will more than cover that estimate? Or is there likelihood that we will incur additional costs that won't be reimbursed?
The expectation is that there's not going to be water up there. The tests that we have up there show it at about 10 to 11 feet, and with the dry conditions that we've had, unless you were to get another flood season, the expectation is that there wouldn't be any dewatering.
So you think we're covered there?
Again, I see what you're saying. Customer would be us, but would be reimbursed by Wholesome. So we're technically the customer, but the customer has an agreement to be reimbursed by Wholesome.
But they're not locked into the value of 611,201. That's a floating value. If we exceed 70,000, they'll pay additional.
Yes, there's no cost to us.
Okay.
Which is why there's that out for them. If something big were to happen, they can say stop, and then they just pay us for what we've done up until that point.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had up to in the area of specification. So I'll show my ignorance here. So I'm going to ask you because you will know. So this all work can be performed per BH&E, O&M processes and procedures. So my question is, are those the same processes and procedures that the city would do had we been doing the work, or that were specified in the RFP, or that would be governed by anything controlled at state level? I mean, those are their processes and procedures.
Those are generally state fire marshal codes. You can have variances. The city could be more stringent in what they do. We don't, how do I say this? We don't generally construct 10-inch main. So we really don't have a specification for 10-inch. That's kind of beyond what our guys can do. They can fuse up to 6-inch, but anything over 6-inch, we really have to contract out. So at that point, it becomes state specification. Black Hills is a gas company, and they specialize in that larger pipe. And so their specifications would hold. If we had anything in the city that were more stringent, which I'm sure we don't, it would go to the city specifications.
Okay, thank you. My last question was, again, so we're moving and relocating this, putting the pipe at a different depth and moving it 4 feet. And so my question is this: in doing that, because this is a spur, we don't have any downstream issues once we've done the move. They've paid, we own it then, right, in its moved location. So we would be responsible for any further maintenance down the road. Is that
It'll
correct?
be, as part of this, it's encased. So it's not encased now. So what'll happen is when we lower it and they bring the spur over it, it'll be encased. The answer is yes. We'll be responsible for any maintenance. We will inspect it to make sure everything's done to the standards, and the encasement pipe makes our worries about the maintenance a lot less. Really going under that, anytime you go under the rail, it's a real tedious process. And so with the encasement pipe, we would be able to just take that old pipe out, put a new pipe in. If it ever came to that, this pipe is probably 50 or 60 years old now. So there's really not a lot of maintenance you do on that big steel pipe anyway.
So then my last question is this, and it's probably good, but do we have any concerns at all relative to weight or vibration related to the gas line once we've been relocated? Where we're putting it is not going to be subject to any kind of weight vibration issues that will cause us maintenance problems.
We have gas main under railroads now that's encased, and they do not have any issues with it.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Comments from public? Back to council. I would take a motion in regards to resolution 2020-200 to improve the reimbursement, the indemnification agreement for gas main relocation with Wholesome US. Councilman Yerger.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2020-200.
Councilman Levine.
And I will second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Next item, I would take a motion to adjourn. Councilman Jensen.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Councilman Legman.
I will second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Time is 9:19.